I just finished crawling uphill, up that slope, kind of like an animal crawl. And not very different than that. Using hands and legs. Yeah, that was uphill too. Easy peasy. It's kind of amusing to me how, I just do a little bit of that and heart starts beating fast. Sometimes I can do the whole slope without a problem. Sometimes it's like, can only do a little bit and then got to stop. And then the heart starts beating fast. It doesn't even feel like it's my heart. It's just so strange, the whole thing. And then coughs, and whoever's heart was beating fast is gone. Heart returns back to normal. Kind of an interesting life, right? Then your heartbeat is not your own. Somebody else's heartbeat. Some guys out there, wondering, sitting down and wondering, why the hell is my heart beating fast? Anyway, that's what I thought. I had like 4 months of non-stop rapid heart rate. Oh, look, a butterfly. Is it the same butterfly? I see that black one with the white border all the time. I see other ones every now and then, but like this one's like the most. I've been seeing it a lot. Where is it? There you go. Need a little hydration, huh? Sucking on the water, I guess, on the plant. Yeah. Where'd it go? Damn, within these shadows, this black butterfly is very hard to spot, right? Like, if you just came out, spot it. Can you spot it? Where? Spot it? Did you spot it? Oh, you're looking for it. Alright, if you're looking for it and you know what it looks like, then you spotted it. But what if you didn't know, Then it just becomes part of the shadow, right? Oh, look, it has a visitor. Oh, look, there's a second fly. How's that? Oh. Butterflies and flies. What's left? Butter, right? No butter for you. That's right, you heard me. No butter for you. Oh, see? Took off when I said that. Where are you, turtle? Man, where'd that turtle go? Oh, holy cow, it went all the way there. Oh man, that thing's climbing. Probably wants to find flat ground where it can lay its eggs, yeah? That's what I think it's doing. Easy for me to climb. It took this guy like that whole few minutes. She just stopped. Like she got 777 on her thighs. Oh look, another, that's a monarch butterfly. Right there, a monarch. How's that? Beautiful. Turtle doing the turtle crawl, yeah, like the watermelon crawl, you know. I don't know what the watermelon crawl is. I just say these things. They just come to me from songs. I even forget the song I heard it in. What do I think it is? Let's see. You gotta roll a watermelon uphill like Atlas, you know, Atlas Shrugged, carrying the whole Atlas on his shoulders. No, that's not what it is. What else? What else could it be, right? A watermelon crawl. Watermelon crawl. I really can't, like, it's got to be something to do with carrying a heavy watermelon across a line or something. I don't know. It's got to be something silly like that. You gotta, you know, do it blindfolded or do it with something, right? It's like a kid's game, I'm guessing. Oh wow, that's a really like big sparrow, man. What the hell? What kind of sparrows are these? Like they're huge. Ah, they're taking a bath. I don't know, maybe they're nesting or something, but they look huge, man. They look like, you know, really big. Is that what the watermelon crawl is? I'm not gonna say that. That's, you know, I'm disappointed in you for even suggesting that. You know, people come and go at their own pace. Some crawl, some stop, others don't. You know, it's just a thing. How you doing? How you doing? Who am I speaking to? I don't know. Someone who finds this whole thing very amusing. Okay, look, that's a normal sized sparrow, right? That's what a sparrow looks like. I don't know what those are, but those are like huge. GMO sparrow? Really? Is that what you think? GMO sparrow? They fed them antibiotics maybe to fatten them up? That sounds wrong to you? All right. Then why do you eat that? Why do you eat, GMO food? Cows that been fattened up on, antibiotics and GMOs. Why do you eat that then? You can't afford the grass-fed organic variety? Yeah, is that it? But you have to eat it, right? Must eat cow, right? Like a prime directive from predator land. Me, predator, must eat cow. I don't know, man. I'm just in a strange mood today. Must be that crawl that I did. A little bit more energy, and see what that does, even in a calm environment like this. A little exercise and little blood pump. Got the blood pumping and all kinds of strange things. Strange comments, right? You like this better? You better than the other videos, the calm videos? All right. Well, here I just sound insane. I just sound like I'm talking to myself. Like I can't, So this is how my mind sometimes sounds like. It's just a one-sided monologue. It's just a one-sided conversation. You have to derive what I'm saying or what the other person is saying based on what I'm saying. So I try to repeat what the other person is saying so that the dialogue becomes a little bit more understandable. If I just answered them, it may not be very comprehensible, So, but that's what I sometimes hear. I just hear like one-sided, monologue. And the interpretation of that monologue is entirely up to me. I can interpret it any way I want to, based on whatever. And sometimes those interpretations become funnier and funnier because they are completely wrong. And, then it becomes like a running joke. And so people will take my wrong interpretation and continue to see how far it extends into the wrongness. And then it gets a life of its own. And then it's like, all right, well, the wrongness itself is the message. So we're gonna like riff off the wrongness. And then, future dialogues refer back to the wrong interpretation. I think that happens a lot. When you I'll give you a very clear example. It's a dark example, but I'll give it to you. Like, there are people in the Aborigine lands of Australia. I think Phil told me this once. Phil was a guy I worked with. Yeah, we were both recruiters. I taught him how to recruit people. Kumar and I taught him to recruit people. But yeah, I mean, he had been in the Australian outback for a while, and I don't know what he was doing out there, but he's just wandering Australia after graduating from college, right? He went to college in Maryland somewhere, and he graduated, and then I think he was a history major, and so before he started work, he went to Australia. People travel, right? People go out there, people spread their word, spread their seeds, whatever. Like, it's just bloodline stuff, right? So I'm sure he went out there, and he's in the Aborigine lands, and with a Aborigine guide, right? And the guide and him are on a boat in a river somewhere, deep in like Australian countryside, like somewhere out there. And the guy catches a fish. I think the story gets wild, but like, I don't know if he caught it with his hands or he caught it with an older ancient method, or I don't know how he caught it, but the guide catches a fish and then takes a bite out of it, like just raw, right? No cooking. They're in a boat, and the fish is wriggling in its hands, and he just takes a big bite out of it and then offers it to Phil. And like, the guide doesn't speak a lot of English, I guess, whatever, or maybe he does, and he says, here, have some. It's good. Tastes really good. So, Phil, being the courteous host that he is, decides to partake in the ritual and takes a bite raw from the fish as it's wriggling, struggling in its hands. I don't know how it tasted, but I imagine it tasted like sushi, except, it was a bit more of a, live experience. The first time I tasted sushi I couldn't stop wanting to throw up. It is really kind of gross. I just my body would keep retching, like it would just, this is the first time. And I didn't start with sushi. I started with sashimi, like just straight into the pool, right? No introduction, no nothing, just sashimi. Sashimi is just pure raw fish, no rice, no nothing to cover up the taste, just raw fish. And it's there on a platter, and you just take it and you eat it. And I would be like, ooh. That like, my whole body would retch, like just wanting to throw up, right? Just couldn't force it down, couldn't even chew it. It felt like eating a tongue, like chewing a tongue. It's just so, I don't know. I won't call it disgusting now, because I eventually grew to like it, but I guess you can adapt to anything. But my first time I had it, that was the sensation I had. My whole body got warm. I was like retching, and it was just like, this was, I don't know what I was doing, but I forced myself to, eat that stuff raw, right? And so that was an interesting experience. But I guess, coming back to the misinterpretations that we have, it's one thing to eat a seed, the sprout of a seed. You sprout some seeds, the seeds look good, the sprouts look good, and then you just eat them, right? You just eat them raw. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to eat a fish raw. And I mean, there are cannibals out there, and some of them do raw eating of stuff. There's a cannibal museum at Balboa Park. Just somebody put that there. Why is there a cannibal museum? I asked myself one day. What? Who are these cannibals? Are they cannibals in America? Like, who are these people? Huh? But there must be. I mean, there is a museum, and if you go in, I'm sure if you go inside the museum, they'll say, oh, there were these tribes in Africa, or there were these tribes in South America, or there were these tribes somewhere, and we don't eat meat, right? We don't do cannibalism of humans, and we don't do any of that, right? And even, then you have to ask yourself, why does Trump and Joe Biden refer to cannibals? Like, why did they talk about cannibals? If America doesn't do cannibalism, then why is there a reference to cannibals by two presidents? Like, are they crazy? Why did they make those references? So anyway, my point is, it's one thing to eat seeds raw, it's another thing to eat a fish raw, right? I'm just going to use fish because it's less uncomfortable, or less comfortable, whatever your choice of language, I suppose, in such matters. Would you eat that turtle raw? No? Looks too disgusting. But the fish you might consider, right? The fish doesn't look as disgusting. Why is that? I guess what I'm saying is, somewhere along the way, your brain gets in tune with your eating habits. Whatever it is you eat, you get in tune with it, right? It's like, all right, well, I'm eating chicken every day, or I'm eating beef every day, and I'm doing it because I want to look good, and it makes me look lean, and that's the look I want, and so on and so forth. And that's what happens. Whoever was working out is gone. Clear change of pace. A little bit more reflective, a little bit more contemplative. Reading through the transcripts, I guess, what I just spoke, trying to acclimate themselves into how to continue this conversation. That's sort of why I talk on the video, because I want to notice these transitions. Somebody comes, reads the transcript, continues talking. Must be interesting, which is why I stay silent most of the time, because then they don't have to do all that, whoever these people are. Then they don't have to kind of acclimate themselves, transition themselves into the speech, mid-speech. And then they too, it will be time for them to go. And then I'll transition into somebody else again. And they will read the transcript. It's sort of an interesting game. Yeah, but the whole idea of mixed, misunderstood messages could be something that simple, right? What is the difference between eating raw seeds and eating raw fish? Not much of a difference if you believe in a certain way. They're both life. The raw seed has, the sprout has potential. If you plant it, it might grow into a plant. But there's always wastage in nature, right? Nature produces way too many seeds. Not all of them are meant to become trees or plants. Same thing with human sperm. We produce millions of sperm. Only one of them actually becomes a human. So eating the excess produce, nature, plants produce a lot of seeds. It's very abundant. Plants are extremely copious, and when you abandon a city, plants will grow over everything. They will grow through sidewalk. They will grow through everything. So there's a case where there is abundance, and eating from that abundance doesn't strike me as problematic. But to take a living animal and just eat it raw strikes me as wrong. You like the first guy better? Yeah? Alright. Well, this is a little more contemplative version of the first guy, I suppose. How do you know it was a guy? Yeah, I mean, I'm asking, how do you know it was a guy? Or, my voice is quite flexible. I can speak with different accents. I can change my accent into something really husky. Kind of like a Barry White, tone. Is that better for you? Is that better for you, baby? You never heard Barry White? Man. Funny, true story. There's a guy called Mike in college, all right, true story. And he taught me how to put hot sauce on eggs, scrambled eggs. And he would never eat his eggs without hot sauce. Everybody else would eat his eggs, normal. He had to have hot sauce. So he teaches me how to eat eggs with hot sauce. And, the other thing he teaches me was to listen to Barry White. Right? And this is, he doesn't like teach me, but just casual conversation, right? The media, just, first of all, it was Florida Southern was a interesting place. Hello, FSC. I saw your tax collection notice you sent. I know it was from Lakeland, Polk County, so I hope you guys are doing well. But anyway, those were some strange years over there getting that degree. Yeah, I was alone for the most part. A couple of friends. Mike was not a friend, it was a casual acquaintance. He would every now and then we'd sit together for breakfast, and I'd be like, why do you put hot eggs in your oh, that's how you eat eggs. Eggs are, they taste good. That's like just eggs without hot sauce. Who does that? Everybody else, Mike. Yeah, not many people would sit with international students. I would typically sit with, I think, a Korean guy or a Japanese guy. It's one of those things, just like Florida in 1990s. And this is like Lakeland. It's not, I'm talking. Like farm kids, right? And so I'd never been to an American school. I didn't know what cool kids were. I didn't know how to talk to kids. I didn't know how to talk to people. Probably still don't. Probably wouldn't understand, a baseball conversation. Wouldn't understand a football conversation. It's very easy to exclude me from a conversation if you truly wanted to. You could just start speaking American sports, and I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what you guys are talking about. And, since I wouldn't know the baseball scores, and I wouldn't know the history, and I wouldn't know what the Yankees did in 1969 against the Red Sox, and I wouldn't know all that, right? So it was like I think they understood that, I was a foreign student. I didn't have a clue about their lives, and so what's the point of eating with someone like that, right? It's completely different cultures. different race, different culture, different everything, right? It's like, guy asked me, this is Florida Southern, right? Guy asked me, I was carrying a camera to take pictures. I brought a camera from, you know, and guy asked me, like, do they make cameras over there? Uh, I guess it's sort of, I wouldn't know how to put it, but it's like, I think back then, all of the material things were, all of the big material, technological things were made in America. Right? So it was, I think for him it was a natural question. Right? I mean, do they make cameras over there? In your third world country? And I was like, I don't quite remember what I said. I said, yeah, yeah, we do. Yeah, we can get cameras over there. But to him, maybe he was making another joke, about cameras. People in the forest take pictures, right, of these deeds of eating fish, and if you eat fish, somebody might, while it's raw, somebody might take a picture of you. That's maybe what cameras mean, and so maybe he was joking about that, and maybe I didn't understand what he meant. That would be another sort of a cultural difference. To me, it sounded like an insult. Maybe to him, he was talking about something else entirely, and I had no idea what he was talking about. That's a misunderstanding, right? That's also a type of misunderstanding. Maybe that's all quantum mechanics is, misunderstanding. Light does this weird thing where it's a wave and it's a particle both in our presence, and by doing that, it's acknowledging us. It's saying, hey, your presence changes me. Your presence changes my very nature. And in doing that, I'm acknowledging you. But we look at it and we go, wow, what a cool property. That is a really cool property of light. How strange. I wonder what explains that. But somebody nods at you, you never ask them to explain it, do you? You never go up to them and say, why'd you nod at me? What do you mean by that? You don't do that. You just accept the acknowledgement. Those accusations are so insane that I can't even talk about them. Now, see, that's the type of one-sided conversation that happens. Some of you might not be aware of what I'm talking about, but it's just a one-sided dialogue. I get a message into my head, and then I have to understand it, interpret it, and then I have to respond to it. Now I could choose to explain what the message was, or I could just make a comment on the message. If I just make a comment on the message, you might not, unless you have access, you might not understand the context. You might just say, okay, that's a running one-sided conversation, somebody on the phone with another person, and without understanding the other person, or without listening to the other person, you might not understand the full context of what I'm saying. So typically when we listen to somebody on the phone, we might initially pay attention and then we start ignoring them because clearly we don't understand what they're talking about. Pool is quieted down. Everybody who is here left. Kind of become quiet. I like it this way. I like the peace and quiet. You thoughts are yeah, I'm sure. Some polluters probably have koi ponds, right? That's what you're basically saying. People who pollute the environment, yet inside their little properties, or big properties, whatever they have behind those gates, they have these beautiful gardens and immaculate koi ponds and all everything perfectly maintained. Yeah, I think there's truth to that. An ExxonMobil executive or a Chevron executive might have a very big property with everything beautifully kept, with a big garden, with lots of trees and everything just designed to create a less stressful environment. Something very calming, something very peaceful. You don't like this accent? Why not? It's a beautiful accent. No? Alright. What would you like it to be, babe? Oh, we can do multiple accents, yeah? We can talk in different ways. Doesn't have to be a certain way, I suppose. Creeping you out now? Oh, just don't let it creep you out. But no, what I was saying is true. What I was saying is true. A polluter might keep their own properties very non-polluting. We should give them credit for that. We should acknowledge their contribution to society. What? Is that too much? That sounds too creepy? Yeah? You want a little bit more humaneness in the voice? It's just I'm playing around with accents. What's wrong with that? I'm just playing around with accents. What's wrong with that? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Under better circumstances, we could have been friends. Me and the Chevron guy, me and the Exxon guy, yeah. We could have been. They could have just spent their lives not polluting, planting trees instead. A lot of people in Texas are, who might hear something like this would be like, well, what about the jobs, right? This is an industry, this is livelihood, this is, money for our kids, and we pay our bills using the money by drilling for oil and polluting the atmosphere that we breathe. And I don't mean to be snarky, dear Texans, but I mean, come on. You breathe the same air I do, right? It's not like you're breathing a different kind of Texan air. We breathe the same air. Now, if I told you that we could give you the same jobs with making the same amount of money, making solar panels or making something else, super advanced technology that will harvest sunlight and gamma radiation and whatever else, that's out there. And you will make the same amount of money to feed your kids, and your lifestyle would not change even a single bit, except you will breathe better. You still would disagree with that? You still would be like, drill, baby, drill? If you are that kind of person, then I'm sorry, but we just agree to disagree, right? We can just part as friends. You can go on drilling for oil and polluting your own air and breathing worse and worse and worse. It's so extraordinarily silly, right? I mean, it's just silly. That's why I feel that if we could talk to people, like if we could talk to real, authentic, genuinely normal, or I don't want to use the word normal because that has different connotations, but just people, right? If we could just talk to each other, we would agree that the air I'm breathing is the air you're breathing, right? I mean, there's nothing to agree on. That's the truth. So why pollute it? I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand your point of view, So that's when it comes to that, when it comes to that sort of crossroad, we just have to stay on the separate side of the road. We just have to say, hey, I see you, I hear you, I think you're insane, and I disagree with you, but that is what it is. We agree to disagree, and we move on. You go back to your beautifully manicured garden and beautiful trees, and you maintain your tiny little oasis of paradise. You maintain that. While I keep my koi pond. It's public property. I come here, I have a good time. You know, I enjoy this beautiful place, Serenity, and everything else. And you enjoy it in your, you know, private, incredibly expensive property that you made by polluting the environment. Yeah? Okay, so, and that's it. And then we part as friends. See what I mean? Like, I mean, there's, you know, if we could just talk something other than baseball, right? Because I really don't understand. If we could just talk, I mean, I don't want to memorize your scores, man. I just don't, I don't, I don't want to, you know, talk about Vince won or, you know, Mickey whatever, or, you know, Babe Ruth, or, you know, Craig. What is that? What is that real mean pitcher? The Craig guy, right? He would throw balls at people just to hit them. Like he would get penalties, you know, and stuff like that. Who was that guy? I forgot his name. I keep forgetting names. That's the other thing. Like I might remember specific personalities because their behavior is so off the charts, you know. But I don't remember other baseball stars. So anyway, if you want to, you know, I mean, if you talk something other than sports, I'm sure we could come to an agreement, yeah. And maybe you'll get me to watch sports at some point, and you know, then we could even talk sports. Anyway, wow, it's been over 50 minutes, really? All right, how many people came and went through me, do you think? I think at least, I would say at least 4 or 5 people came and went, yeah? And you felt that change in the cadence and voice and so on, yeah? You felt the difference, you felt the change. That's what happens, and I can't see any of them. I don't know who comes in, who goes, who leaves, who arrives. And, you know, these people suddenly find themselves in me, and they read the transcript, and then they continue the conversation. Sort of interesting for them and for me. Ah, 54 minutes. All right, take care.